I'm pinned against a hotel wall, my heart pounding so hard I feel it echo in my teeth. His hands are on either side of my face. His mouth hovers near mine, the faint scratch of stubble brushing my cheek. I can't breathe. My pulse is roaring in my ears. He leans in, whispering, "Tell me to stop." But I don't. Instead, my fingers claw into his shirt, dragging him closer. His lips skim my jaw, sending sparks shooting through my chest. And in that split second, right before he kisses me, I hear my own voice, breathless, trembling, "Turn away from him and speak directly to you." Wait. Before I let him touch me any further, I have to tell you how I ended up here. Because he's not my husband. And this is the secret I will never tell my husband. But I'll tell you. I smile faintly. Hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel. You don't want to miss this story. Because how I got here, that's the real secret. And just like that, I'm pulled backward through time. From the outside, I'm the perfect wife. I live in the kind of suburb that could be printed on postcards. White fences. Neatly trimmed grass. Children riding scooters up and down sidewalks. I'm in my mid-30s. I've been married for 8 years to a man who loves me. He's tall, handsome, works in finance. We have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, who are healthy, smart, beautiful. We do family trips, pumpkin patches, soccer practice, Christmas photos in matching pajamas. Everyone thinks I have it all. But here's what nobody knows, I'm starving inside. I didn't start out this way. My husband used to make me feel alive. We'd sneak off to the bedroom, desperate for each other. We'd text each other dirty things in the middle of the day. I felt like the sexiest woman alive. But over the years, life smoothed us into routine. Work. Kids. Bills. A few quick kisses in the kitchen. Sex turned into something scheduled, predictable. He'd roll off me with a sigh and a mumbled, "Thanks, babe," before drifting off. I wanted to scream. I wanted him to lose control. I wanted rough hands. Groans. The kind of sex that made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. Instead, I felt invisible. One night, after putting the kids to bed, I found myself online. I don't even remember how I got there, a random forum for chatting. I signed up under a fake name. At first, it was harmless. Just jokes. Small talk. Then a man messaged me. "You sound sexy. Are you alone?" My heart skittered in my chest. I hovered my fingers over the keyboard, knowing I should shut it down. But instead, I typed. Maybe. That was the first domino. Soon I was sneaking downstairs after my husband fell asleep. I'd wrap myself in a robe, my laptop glow lighting my face. Strangers would tell me how beautiful I was. Ask me what I was wearing. Sometimes I'd send photos, just a glimpse of cleavage, or the curve of my hip. Never my face. Then I'd close the laptop, creep upstairs, slip into bed beside my husband. He'd murmur, "Love you." I'd whisper back, "Love you too." But my mind was far away. I kept telling myself it was just fantasy. That I'd never actually do anything. Until one night, everything changed. My girlfriends dragged me out for drinks downtown. It was a Friday night, hot and sticky, neon lights buzzing over the streets. I wore a black dress I hadn't touched in years. Tight, a little too low cut. I felt like the woman I used to be. Halfway through my second drink, I felt eyes on me. I looked up, and saw him. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dark hair flecked with gray. Sharp jaw. The kind of man who makes you straighten your spine without realizing it. He came over, bought me another drink. Asked my name. I gave him a fake one. We talked about music. Movies. He kept looking at me like he was trying to memorize every inch of my body. His knee brushed mine under the bar. I felt electric. He leaned close, his lips brushing my ear. "You have no idea how badly I want to kiss you right now." I froze. My body was screaming yes. He led me to a dim hallway near the restrooms. His hand slid around my waist, pulling me close. His breath was hot against my cheek. "Tell me to stop." My lips parted. I could feel the heat of him, the scent of his cologne. I wanted to let him do whatever he wanted. But in that split second, I thought of my kids. My husband. The life I'd built. I jerked away. I can't. I ran out of the bar, heart hammering. I sat in my car shaking, trying to catch my breath. But even as I drove home, part of me burned with the memory of how close his lips had come. When I slipped into bed, my husband rolled over and mumbled, "Good night, babe." I stared at the ceiling, my pulse still racing. Something inside me had woken up that night. And I knew, I wasn't going to be able to keep pretending. That's how it all began, I tell you now, looking straight at the camera. That was the first crack in my perfect life. The first moment I realized I was capable of wanting more. And this was only the beginning. So don't forget to like this video, and subscribe. Because trust me, the story's about to get a lot wilder. After that night in the bar, I couldn't stop thinking about him. About how close I'd come to letting a stranger kiss me. About how alive I'd felt. But I still kept telling myself it was just a fantasy. Until I met Nick. I met Nick online. In a private chat room, late at night. His screen name was something boring like Business Guy 79. But his words, God, his words. At first, we just talked. He asked about music, books, movies. He was smart. Funny. Not pushy. But it didn't stay innocent for long. One night, he messaged me. "What are you wearing right now?" I typed back. "A tank top. And panties." He responded. "I'd pull that tank top off so slowly. And kiss every inch of you." It was like he flipped a switch. The things Nick said made me feel things I hadn't felt in years. I'd sit there in the dark, my thighs pressed together, my breath coming faster, my fingers trembling over the keyboard. He wanted me. And he wasn't my husband. We started video chatting. At first, I only let him see me from the shoulders up. But eventually, I showed him more. My lace bra. My thighs. The curve of my ass. I knew it was dangerous. But it was like a drug. Nick told me he was from Houston. Late 30s. Divorced. Worked in sales. He traveled a lot. One night, he said, "I'll be in Dallas next week. We should meet." My heart lurched. I told him no. That I wasn't that kind of woman. That it was just online fun. But every night after, I lay in bed imagining his hands on me. His mouth. By the time the next week came, I'd already decided. The day Nick arrived, my husband was away on a business trip. The kids were with my parents. Nick texted me a hotel address. A fancy place downtown. I spent an hour getting ready. Shaved everything. Did my hair. Put on red lipstick. I bought new black lace lingerie that morning, shaking as the cashier rang it up. When I got to the hotel, my palms were sweating so hard I thought I'd drop my phone. I stared at his hotel door for a full minute before knocking. When he opened it, he looked exactly like his pictures. Tall. Handsome. Wearing a crisp button-down shirt. He smiled. "You came." I stepped into the room, and the door clicked shut behind me. That was the moment my secret life became real. The door clicked shut behind me, and it was like the whole world went silent. I stood there frozen, my purse still dangling from my shoulder. Nick looked at me for a long moment, his eyes dark and hungry. Then he reached out, took my purse, and set it on the table. "Come here," he murmured. My feet felt glued to the carpet. I kept thinking, this is real. This is real. I'm about to cheat on my husband. But the truth is, I wanted it. I let Nick pull me closer. His hand slid up my arms, then tangled in my hair. He kissed me slowly at first, his mouth gentle and warm. But then the kiss deepened, and I felt his tongue slip between my lips. My whole body went hot. I gasped when he lifted me by the waist, carried me to the bed, and laid me down. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, hovering over me. And I whispered, "Don't stop." That first night with Nick was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It was raw. Intense. Messy. He peeled off my clothes like he'd been starving for me. His mouth was everywhere, my neck, my chest, the soft skin of my stomach. He traced his tongue over places my husband hadn't touched in years. He took his time. He knew how to make me moan. How to push me right to the edge and then pull back just enough to make me beg. When we finally came together, it felt like my whole body was shattering. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets. I stared at the ceiling, panting, my heart still racing. A tiny voice in my head kept screaming, "What have you done?" But another part of me whispered, "Finally." Nick propped himself up on one elbow and traced circles on my stomach. "Was it everything you imagined?" I couldn't even speak. I just nodded. And that was the truth. It was everything I'd imagined, and more. Later, he ordered room service. We sat in bed eating pasta, laughing like old lovers. But the whole time, guilt gnawed at me. My husband texted, "How's your day going, babe?" I stared at the screen, lying in another man's bed, my skin still flushed. I typed back, "Good. Just running errands." Nick pulled me close and kissed my temple. "You don't have to feel guilty," he murmured. "You deserve this." But as I left his room later that night, my legs still shaky, I realized one terrifying truth. I was never going to stop. Narrator speaks directly to camera. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you want to hear what happened next. Because that night with Nick was just the beginning. After that first night, I promised myself it would never happen again. But it did. Over and over. Nick and I started seeing each other whenever he was in town. Sometimes it was a fancy hotel downtown. Sometimes just a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city. I'd tell my husband I was working late. Or out with friends. Each time, it got easier to lie. When I was with Nick, I felt like a different woman. I wore lingerie I'd never have dared wear at home. Black lace, red satin, stockings with little bows. I let him tie my wrists to the headboard. I let him whisper filthy things in my ear. He made me feel alive. He made me feel seen. But living a double life came with risks. One day, I was at work, texting Nick under my desk. He sent me a photo of himself in nothing but a towel, smirking at the camera. I was grinning like an idiot when suddenly, "Hey babe, surprise!" I jumped a foot in the air. My husband stood in my office doorway, holding a bag of takeout. My phone nearly slipped out of my fingers. "You okay?" my husband asked, frowning. "You look flustered." "I'm fine," I squeaked. "Just busy." He kissed me. My stomach churned with guilt. If he'd come in 5 minutes earlier, he would have seen me grinning at Nick's half-naked photo. It wasn't the only close call. Another night, Nick drove through my neighborhood just because he wanted to see where I lived. He parked at the end of the street and texted, "I'm outside." I nearly had a heart attack. "Go home," I hissed into my phone. "Are you crazy?" Every day, the stakes got higher. I found myself drifting further from my husband. He tried. He'd bring home flowers. Plan date nights. But my heart was somewhere else. Sometimes during sex, I closed my eyes. And imagined Nick. His voice. His hands. the roughness. The way he made me feel like I was the most desirable woman alive. One afternoon, I was folding laundry and caught my reflection in the mirror. My face looked the same. My wedding ring still sparkled. But I knew I was no longer the same woman. I'm not a bad person, I tell you now. But I'm not innocent either. And the more I tried to stop, the deeper I fell. Nick started talking about wanting more. Leave him, he'd say. Be with me. He promised to take care of me. Said we could travel. Live somewhere new. But I always shook my head. I'm not leaving my family. Nick would sigh, frustration simmering in his eyes. I thought maybe the affair would fade away. But it didn't. The final time I saw Nick, I promised myself it would truly be the last. My husband was away on a business trip. I told Nick I'd come by just to talk. But the moment he opened his hotel door, all my resolve dissolved. He pulled me inside. Kissed me until my lips were sore. We tumbled into bed, clothes flying. He knew exactly how to touch me. How to make me cry out. It was reckless. Intense. Hotter than ever. And I didn't want it to end. Afterward, as I lay there panting, Nick brushed my hair back and said, "Why do you keep running from this?" I stared at the ceiling. "Because I love my husband," I whispered. "I love my kids." Nick frowned. "But you love me too. And here's the truth." He was right. I did love Nick. But not in the way I loved my husband. Nick was the fire. The danger. The thrill. My husband was the safe place to fall. As the sun rose, I kissed Nick one last time. "This has to end," I said. But when he pulled me in again, I let him. Because even as I swore it was over, I knew deep down it never really would be. I left the hotel that morning with my hair tousled, my lipstick smudged, and my body aching. I drove home, washed Nick's scent off my skin, and slipped back into my life like nothing had happened. So that's my secret, I say now, looking straight at you. I love my husband. I'll never leave him. But I can't stop seeing Nick. And I'll never, ever tell my husband the truth. But I'll keep telling you. A small, almost wicked smile. So hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Because I've got more secrets than even I want to admit. And one day, I might tell you another one.